Do you guys eat late at night? My parents always liked to cook in the middle of the night, and it was always at 3:00 in the morning. I've never paid much attention to this matter, until a netizen's comment shocked me. Not only did they cook without fire, the rice in the pot was mixed with incense ash. At 3:00 in the morning, I came out to use the restroom with a yawn. I saw my parents cooking in the kitchen again. It was pitch black in the kitchen. They didn't even turn on the light. "Mom, why are you cooking in the middle of the night again?" I couldn't help complaining. I don't know when it started. My parents always liked to cook in the middle of the night. Several times they woke me up. My mom smiled and said with embarrassment, "We're old, we're always hungry at night. Only you young people are allowed to eat late night snacks every day. And you don't allow us old people to cook for ourselves." My dad smiled and said, "Drink a cup of hot milk. Go back to bed." Hearing that, I had no choice but to go back to my room. But as time went on, I couldn't help but post about it online. But within a minute or two, there were comments from netizens. Most of the comments were about how cute my parents were. There were also some who said that my parents would be in bad health if they ate late snacks for a long time. But only one comment seemed out of place. "Your parents don't like to cook in the middle of the night. They are raising ghosts." This inexplicable comment made me frown. This person is trying to attract traffic on purpose, right? I was just about to delete the comment. This person called Son immediately sent me a private message. "Your parents must have made raw ice, and they must have cooked it at 3 a.m. 3 a.m. is the heaviest time of the day. Cooking at this time must be for ghosts. They must be keeping a ghost at home." Son almost made me laugh. What era is this? How can there be ghosts? Although Son accurately guessed the time when my parents were cooking, I'll just take it as a coincidence. If my parents really keep ghosts at home, then why haven't I ever seen a ghost? I argued. Son replied, "That's because the ghost only appears after 3:00 am. Your parents must have given you something. It can make you fall asleep completely after 3:00 am. And your parents must have cooked without turning on the lights, because they're cooking for ghosts." Son was even right about my parents not turning on the lights when they were cooking. I'm starting to have doubts, because every time I went back to my room, I slept very deeply. I thought of the hot milk my dad used to give me every time. Suddenly, I had a lot of doubts. But I don't think I can trust Son on the basis of these points. It's impossible. My parents are ordinary workers. They are very honest. They've taken care of me in every possible way. When I was a child, I accidentally bumped my head. My parents would focus all their energy and attention on me, worrying that something would happen to me again. But I do feel a little strange. I decided that I couldn't drink the milk my dad gave me tonight, no matter what. At 3:00 am, I was woken up again by the sound of my parents cooking. I gently pushed the door open and walked out. In the dark kitchen, there was the sound of spatulas and pots clashing. There wasn't even any moonlight outside today. The kitchen was so dark that I couldn't see a thing. I even have to walk by the light of my cell phone. But my parents can cook with precision. It reminds me of what Son told me. He said, "There's a ghost next to my parents directing them to cook." When I thought of this, I immediately broke out in a cold sweat. My heart was pounding. I held my breath. I cautiously approached the kitchen. By the dim light of my cell phone, I could see my mom and dad. They were cooking without expression. Their movements were very stiff. I was about to shout, but they stopped abruptly. My pupils dilated in fear. With the faint light of my cell phone, I saw a figure in the middle of my parents' shadows on the floor. The figure was clinging to my mom and dad. It was almost overlapping, but there was no one between them. They were as stiff as puppets. as if they were being held by an invisible string. Mom was mechanically stirring with a spatula, but I realized that she didn't even light the fire. Is it really like Son said? They're cooking for ghosts. My throat tightened. I wanted to speak, but couldn't. That's when my dad suddenly found me. Did I wake you up again? Honey, keep your voice down. You woke up our daughter again. At the very moment my father made a sound, the figure disappeared. My heart was beating fast. My face looked terrible. What's this good stuff? Can I have a bite too? I went over there, but I realized there was nothing in the pot. It was just like Son said. It was raw ice. Raw ice mixed with fragrant ash looked very strange. My mom stood in front of the pot, blocking my view. In the darkness, her face was strangely pale, but her lips were red. How could I see her ice in the pot? I asked cautiously. My father knocked me lightly on the head and said helplessly, "Have you forgotten that tomorrow is the anniversary of your brother's death? These raw ice and ashes are for your brother tomorrow. Look carefully. This pot isn't the one we usually used to eat. Let me take a look. That pot isn't the one Mom and Dad used before. And tomorrow is indeed the anniversary of my brother's death. Even though it's my brother, I've only seen him in photos. My brother had a beautiful smile. He must have been a very warm boy. But unfortunately, he died before I was born. My parents were too shy to talk about his death, so they never told me. But I heard from my grandmother that my brother died in a car accident. The story goes that he and my parents had a fight that day. My brother ran out the door before he had a chance to eat. A car with a drunk driver ran over him and crashed into him. He died a horrible death. His neck was broken. Mom and Dad did make offerings for my brother every year. I was so relieved. I thought to myself, I can't believe I believed Son, the liar. You have school tomorrow. Drink your milk and go to bed. My dad handed me another glass of milk. I waved my hand. I didn't want to drink it today. But then I saw my parents staring straight at me. Their eyes were slightly narrowed. The corners of their mouths slowly curved upwards. They had the same look on their faces. Drink it. It's good for your health. Seeing them staring at me, I could only take a sip of the milk. I went to my room to sleep. When I got back to my room, I spit out the milk and lay down on the bed pretending to sleep. After 10 minutes or so, I heard the door knob creak. The next moment, the door made a teeth-rattling sound. The door opened. I squeezed my eyes shut and tried to keep my breathing steady. Someone came in. "Carrie, are you asleep?" Dad called out to me. I didn't dare answer. "I think I'm asleep," my mom said slowly. I could hear their footsteps heading towards the corner of my room. I quietly opened my eyes. I saw my parents put the rice in front of the dark red door. Then they knelt down and folded their hands, muttering something under their breath. I tried to hear what they were saying. Finally, I got it. "Leo, we're going to see each other again soon. We really miss you. I've already found a good body for you. Don't worry. We've taken good care of this body for more than 10 years. When I heard my mom's words, I got the creeps. The room inside the red door is the room where my brother lived before he died. My mom locked the door in case I was scared. That's why I've never entered that room since I was born. A chill ran from the bottom of my feet to the top of my head. What do they mean by that? At that very moment, something happened that gave me the creeps. There was a very slight creak. I saw the door slowly open. There was a small gap. There was no light in the crack, only thick, bone-chilling darkness. I was breathing hard. I had a feeling. Inside the door, there was something extremely terrifying hidden inside that door. The next moment, I saw a bloodless, withered arm. stretching out slowly from the doorway. The hand took away the rice bowl with great speed. Soon I heard chewing sounds coming from inside. Obviously, it was rice. But the chewing sound sounded like chewing bones. Sticky and disgusting. Fear swept through my body. I was sweating profusely, but I didn't dare make a sound. At that moment, I saw the thing in the door slowly sticking out its head. His head was more than twice the size of a normal human's. It looked extremely strange. His head hung very low, as if his neck could not support the weight of his head. I stared as hard as I could, but I couldn't see his face at all. But when my parents saw him, they smiled lovingly. Their lips were lifted very high. They looked so strange. Sharp laughter escaped their lips. Mom held the head and stroked it. My son has grown so strong. The three of us will be together the day after tomorrow. The father hung his head and let out a sob. My scalp tingled as I watched the bizarre scene in front of me. I couldn't believe it. This ghost was my dead brother. It was whispering something in my mom's ear. The next moment, I heard my mom say something that almost made me scream. Honey, Leo said that Carrie had already woken up. He's watching us from behind. The next moment, my mom and dad's heads quickly turned around. They were looking straight at me. I quickly closed my eyes, but my hands were trembling uncontrollably. Footsteps slowly approached my bedside. Mom's voice sounded. Carrie, are you awake? The tone of her voice was completely different from my mom's usual voice. It was sharp, as if she had a deep malice in her voice. I didn't dare make a sound. I prayed they wouldn't realize I was pretending to be asleep. My back was already covered in cold sweat. It was as if she was really asleep. Leo might have been wrong. My father said, "Let's go." The sound of mom and dad's footsteps drifted away. Then the sound of the door closing. I let out a long, sharp breath before opening my eyes. The door was now closed. It was back to its original lock form. I climbed out of bed. Cautiously, I went to the door. I tried to tug on the knob, but the door was locked so tightly that I couldn't open it. It was as if I was hallucinating what I had just seen. There was an empty bowl in front of the door. The rice inside was long gone. I pressed my ear against the door. Inside the door, it was dead silent. Only the sound of my heartbeat was noticeable. Fighting back my fear, I got down on my stomach. I put my eyes to the door. It was dark inside. At first, I couldn't see anything. Just as I was about to get up, I saw a pair of feet slowly appear in my vision. A pair of cold iron dead feet. They approached me in a very stiff manner. They finally stopped by the door. I covered my mouth to keep from screaming. I jumped up and ran back to the bed as fast as I could. I curled up under the covers. I shakily took out my cell phone and sent a message to son.